Hey everyone, Austin here again with another quick play. As of doing this video, it is October 2022, and as the regulars on my channel know, I love to do some Castlevania during this month, and I'm feeling especially lazy this year, so I'm pounding out some videos of games I have already covered probably a dozen times on my channel, but regardless, these are games I love to play this time of the year, and so I can't think of a better excuse to revisit them. So what we're gonna do is just try to roll right through Castlevania IV. This is my quick play series where I basically just fire up a game and just see how we do at it. Now, this is one of my most played games of all time. I don't really ever have to practice this game. I can usually just jump right into it and just rip right through it. Now, a little twist, we are going to be playing the second loop. We're not going to be playing the first loop. Castlevania IV is notoriously easy compared to your typical Castlevania game. Now, it's not to say it's not a challenge, or it won't be a challenge for new players, but for people like myself that have been playing it ever since it came out, I was there on day one when this game came out, it is kind of a walk in the park now, so, but that's one of the things I love about the game. It is definitely a cozy game for me. It's just got a haunting atmosphere. I can get lost in said atmosphere, and it's just a good time. There's a lot of gameplay flexibility here. You can attack in a lot of different directions, and there's always a lot happening on screen, regardless whether it's lots of enemies coming at you or it's just lots of different, you know, objects to break and candles to whip and things like that. It's just an all-around fun game, and if you've never played it before, I highly recommend it. So let's go ahead and just skip through this story stuff. What we're going to do is go to continue, and I'm going to input a password with a blank name. So we just hit start right here. We switch over to our hearts, and we do hearts in these locations. And then we do axes right here. And then we do holy water in the top right. And what this does is it takes us to our second playthrough. So Castlevania IV does a loop. Technically it loops infinitely. You can keep playing it over and over again. But after the first loop, the gameplay difficulty actually rises once. Unfortunately, it only rises once. It would be awesome if this, you know, increased in difficulty several times. That would have been so cool. Castlevania X68000, or Dracula, Akamojo Dracula X68000, or Castlevania Chronicles, as it was released in North America on PlayStation 1. That actually has, I think, 6 or 7 loops. And it does get more challenging on every loop. It's really cool, and I wish they had managed to cook something up like that for this game to give it even more replay value than it already has. For those of you guys familiar with this game, you'll notice that it's taking 2 hits to kill these skeletons now, which kind of screws with my rhythm. I'm so used to just playing the first loop. I mean, I'm used to playing this loop too, but not as used to it, because a lot of times I just, you know, I'll play through the first loop and then I'll be like, ah, alright, I'm bored. And then I don't play the second loop. So I've got the boomerang, or the cross, insanely powerful sub-weapon. It is so overpowered in this game, but in a good way, in my opinion. I love just ripping through stuff with it. Yeah, there's a lot more bats, too. I always forget about the greater, bat density. And we've got our hooks that was introduced in this game. Not many other Castlevania games utilize that mechanic, unfortunately. I did like it. I always thought it was a really fun mechanic. Now, Castlevania Bloodlines does have Jonathan Morris, who's a whip-based character, and he can actually latch on top of, man, I can't talk today. He can latch onto ceilings, which is pretty cool, which is very similar to the ring hook mechanic. I wasn't expecting that bat to hit me. Now, one of the things about Castlevania IV, it is pretty generous with health pickups. So there's a lot of meat that drops from candles. But you also have your traditional wall meats that you had from your earlier 8-bit Castlevania games. You also have, you know, breakable walls that will reveal other items, not just meat. You know, for instance, you might get a shot doubler, which works exactly like it does in the other Castlevanias. Holy crap, that horse head does not want me to live. Which I guess that's kind of the point of things here. Oh, my shot was actually very unresponsive. That was very embarrassing. I never die in the first level in this game. And we got our whip upgraded. Now, I did just record my Castlevania 1 playthrough right before doing this video, and so going from Castlevania 1, or even Part 3, straight to Castlevania 4 can always be a little jarring, because the control scheme is, there's just so much more you can do in this game, and I think there's an adjustment period when you go from one of the more rigid Castlevanias and you go and you play this. So a couple of guys added here, these guys from behind. You can actually just jump and attack their hands, and you always do damage. So preferably you attack them before they come up and out. Whoa, that's not good. So these flippy platforms, they were introduced in Castlevania 3, and they make a reappearance in Castlevania 4. One thing I've always loved about Castlevania 4 is there are so many mechanics from the earlier games that were just carried forward, and it was really cool seeing them and hearing them. Like, they actually make sounds now. I mean, I think they made sounds in Castlevania 3 as well, but it's a totally different sound. So, it was just cool seeing the evolution of some of these mechanics. So now, unfortunately, because I lost my boomerang, this boss is going to be a little more difficult. Still not that difficult. Holy Water is a decent weapon in this game, but when you've got a powered-up boomerang, it's kind of redundant. Freeze frame. Yeah, one of the other things that I think is keeping me from being as comfortable with this as I normally am is I'm actually playing this on the Mr. FPGA because this will give me the best video quality for recording. And so instead of using a Super Nintendo controller, I'm actually using a PS1 Classic controller. Basically the same button layout, but as you guys know, the PlayStation D-pad is very different from a Super Nintendo D-pad, or at least it looks like it. Underneath the hood, it's actually very similar. The original PlayStation controllers are actually made by the same company that made the Super Nintendo controllers. So, but a lot of people really struggle with the cross D-pad. And there is an adjustment period, for sure, especially if you're playing a game that you're used to playing on, say, a Super Nintendo controller. I had thought about busting out my 8BitDo SNES style controller, but I was like, nah, let's go ahead and do the PS1 Classic controller. It works really well. So Castlevania 4 is a relatively long game. Usually takes about an hour to go through. So we're only at 10 minutes right now, so we have quite a ways to go. But, you know, honestly, it's one of those games where, like, I don't feel that length like I do in other games. I think it's because there's so much stage variety, music variety, enemy variety, all that stuff. It feels fresh for pretty much the whole playthrough. The early levels in particular are pretty relaxed, which also helps. Alright. This should be a checkpoint if I die. Now, one of the things about Castlevania 4, if you're new to the game, the checkpoints are few and far between. And so that combined with the overall length of the game, it can be a little grueling to learn at first, if you're not really comfortable with the mechanics overall. I'm gonna go ahead and just come here. These frogs always get me. They're super tiny, and so they're really hard to hit. Now, because I ended up losing my boomerang on the first level, I don't have a shot doubler right now. Now, I think this is going to be an axe. Oh, just a heart. Never mind. But there's some wall meat. Now, one other great thing in this game is mid-air jump control. You've got some flexibility there, which, you know, in other Castlevania games, even Castlevania games after this, you really had to commit to your jumps. In Castlevania IV, that is not a necessity. So you can actually be a little bit sloppier with your gameplay in this, whereas in a lot of other Castlevanias, you have to commit to everything you do. It's like Dark Souls. I honestly would not be surprised if the Dark Souls developers were at least somewhat influenced by classic Vania. It would not surprise me one bit. So not a great fight. I took a hit or two, but there should be some meat here, and I should be able to get some of my life back. You do want to kill everything you see here, though, like especially these flying gargoyle-looking things. And don't touch those orange spikes. You will die instantly if you do. That was something that would get me all the time as a kid, because I was like, oh, well, I never really thought about it, honestly. It took me a while to realize that those spikes were actually killing me. And I think it's because they don't look like foreground objects. They don't look like they should hit you. They're not on the same plane as Simon is, your character. And you want to watch out for those hands, definitely get rid of them. They basically grab onto you and try to suck away all of your hearts. Just like in the previous Castlevania games, hearts are ammunition. So every time I use my sub-weapon, I lose a heart. Other sub-weapons might use more, like the stopwatch perhaps. I don't remember how much it uses exactly in this game, because I very rarely use it. Now, one interesting thing in this game, because you can whip in 8 different directions, up and attack no longer uses your sub-weapon. So you actually have to use a shoulder key to activate it. And it's R. The R button. I wanted to say R1 because I'm on a PlayStation controller right now. But the Super Nintendo only had 2 shoulder keys. L and R. A very forward-thinking design choice that would eventually become standard with the next generation afterwards. Pretty much everybody adopted shoulder keys. You know, I want to actually come over here because there is a health refill. And since we are in the second loop, I might as well just kind of play it safe. These days I usually skip this section because it, you know, unless you want some health, or you want some pickups, it is a little on the redundant side. It's a fun little secret though. Castlevania IV has a few secrets like this. Such a great soundtrack too. It's just, there's so much variety to it. You know, some tunes are faster paced, others are like slower and more moody. And it's one of the things I just absolutely love about this game. And it's all good too. Like, I can't think of a quote-unquote bad tune in this entire game. It all just fits like a glove. Now, when these rocks split apart, you can actually get hurt by the little parts that break off. So you want to, you know, when they fall to the ground, you want to just kind of walk the other way. You want to take it slow and steady. There's no reason to rush through this game. In most parts of the game, you get lots and lots of time. So even on the second loop, no reason to rush. I mean, honestly, on the second loop, you have even less reason to rush because, you know, there is more happening. There are more enemies. And you can end up taking a lot of accidental damage if you're just trying to rush right through. So now we have 2 of these things. On the first loop, there's only 1. Like I said, I don't think this second loop is like insanely difficult compared to the first loop, but it is definitely a step up. It is most certainly a step up. Use that mid-air control to help me out right there. Alright, so these are actually really tight jumps. You'll notice yourself like barely making it like that. So check this out. I'm mostly off the ledge. That's how tight that jump is. So there are a few jumps in Castlevania IV you really have to watch out for like that. So there was that one right there, but there's also one right at the end up here. And it's easy for me now, but when I was a kid, I would miss these jumps all the time. So you gotta be very careful about that. We can just sit here and watch all these blocks drop. There we go. And there's gonna be some Zelda 2 eyeballs here. That's where I know them from anyway. Except these ones are a little bit easier. I guess they're technically Castlevania eyeballs because they were in Castlevania 3. But they look more like the ones from Zelda 2 in Castlevania 4. Hey, there's some more meat. The little pieces of chicken you get from the candles, they don't give you, you know, all of your health back. They only give you like, you know, 4 or 5 blocks. It is less than your standard wall meat. But it's a welcome addition, in my opinion, because... Ooh, that was close. This is a tricky part with the mermen that come out. But the meat is, the extra meat is definitely a welcome addition because of the long segments before you get to a checkpoint. Alright, so I'm not going to whip these candles. I know there is a axe here somewhere, and I don't want to pick it up by accident. I'd rather keep the boomerang for the rest of the game if I can help it. Now, if you just hold your whip, it'll actually drop back down, and it'll do a second hit. That's why you saw me doing the 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 with it. There's gonna be some birds. Gotta watch out for the birds. There's quite a few of them here. So it's very easy to accidentally tank some damage. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Seriously, bird? Come on. Wow, that was really annoying. That was super annoying. Man. I hate it when I just get, like, bounced around by those birds like a pinball. Alright, we should have this boss fight. This shouldn't be too difficult. I generally prefer to stay down here, because if you're up on the higher platforms, you have a chance of getting knocked down here in the bottom right. Tons of slowdown. That is one thing Castlevania IV is known for, is lots of slowdown. Not just Castlevania IV, a lot of Super Nintendo games really struggled with slowdown, especially in the early days of the platform. Gradius 3, Super R-Type, Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, they all had a lot of slowdown, unfortunately. Still phenomenal games though, if you ask me. Like, a lot of people like to just kind of crap on a lot of those games because of said slowdown, but honestly, slowdown is not ever something that, at least in the case of NES and Super NES, it's not something that ever really ruined the experience for me. It just is what it was what it was back when these games were new. You know, it's just something we lived with back in the day. You know, video game industry growing pains, basically. Some of the newer players out there might not realize, like, that was just a fact of life back then, along with Flickr on the 8-bit platforms in particular. 16-bit systems could have lots of flicker as well, but it was more relegated to the 8-bit platforms like Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Master System, various, you know, 8-bit computers of the day as well. Ooh, skeleton I'm not used to seeing. Hey, making good progress. We're almost halfway through this level already. Some great, energetic, yet haunting music at the same time. It's good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, just trigger that guy, kill him with the boomerangs. I still call it the boomerang in Castlevania IV. In later Castlevanias, it was called the cross. Because it actually looked like a cross. It looked like a holy cross that you would throw like a boomerang. But in this game, it actually just looks like a boomerang. So I still call it the boomerang, just like in Castlevania 1. Go ahead and just sit on this platform. This game has some fantastic use of this various graphical modes that the Super Nintendo's video processor is capable of doing. That was likely Mode 7? Mode 7 is basically background rotation and scaling. One of the upcoming bosses is actually going to be... That's actually the big boss of this level. Is going to be... I think it also uses Mode 7. It basically treats the boss... Well, maybe it's not Mode 7 actually, but basically it scales the boss in and out. I feel like it might be Mode 7. It might just be treating the boss like it's a background object. And then it's able to just scale constantly and whatnot. I don't remember what mode this is, but there's a really good video by, I think it's Retro Mechanics Explained. It's a YouTube channel. Talks a lot about Super Nintendo in particular. I think it's that channel that went into this level in particular and showed this as actually being a really simple effect, but it's super effective. It's very cool. Tons of slowdown, unfortunately. Alright. Yeah, so after this section we fight the Golem boss. And it's one of those bosses with just really fancy scaling effects. It's just so cool. What's crazy is I think this game was in 1990 in Japan. We got it in 91 in North America. Pretty sure the Japanese one was 90. So for that year in particular, it was quite impressive. Alright, we're gonna just take our time right here. These things will kill you in one hit, just like in Castlevania 3, and then we just hold right, and don't stop holding right. This looks threatening, but it's really not. Don't want the axe. There is going to be some health here. And there's another bone pillar up here you can actually hit before you can actually see it. So I always like to do that. Now, you cannot scroll the screen. Ooh, you can! Some sections you can't scroll the screen back down. It's just actually good to know that you can scroll this one back down. On sections where you cannot scroll it back down, if you fall into a hole that previously was not a hole, you will die instantly. It's the Contra syndrome. Every time you hit this boss, he flies up into the air. He's got a variety of projectiles. Nice. Did it without taking a hit. That's actually pretty good. Alright, so this is actually the level where you basically are leading up to Dracula's castle. So one of the cool things about Castlevania IV is it's like a retelling of the first Castlevania, but it's been expanded upon. The whole concept's been expanded upon so much more. So in Castlevania 1, you start in Dracula's castle right away. In Castlevania 4, the first several levels are you making your way to Dracula's castle, and it's pretty cool. It allows for more level variety. You know, instead of being cooped up in this, you know, gothic castle the whole game, you get these outside scenes and scenery, and it's, you know, forests and water areas and all sorts of stuff. It's really great. I'm gonna just hold my whip in this guy's face. Takes a while, but it's okay. Sometimes it's just about doing whatever is the safest. Now, a lot of times at this part, you're kind of low on time. You'll notice I have less than 100 seconds right now, so we do actually have to kind of book it. Getting a little low on health, too. Okay, got some health back. And we see some statues of Sypha from Castlevania 3. Nice little nod to a previous game. It's actually pretty cool. Castlevania 3, story-wise, actually comes before Castlevania 1 or Castlevania 4. So you notice that one of the Sypha statues was actually broken, indicating that she was broken free in Castlevania 3. Kind of a neat little touch. Yeah, so there is holy water right here. We definitely do not want that. So I'm gonna just let it time out. Items time out really fast in this game. So that's good for if, like, you know, if you just want to skip an item. It's also important to know in case you want an item. If there's an item drop you really, really want, then you need to be on top of it right away. Otherwise, you can easily miss out on it. Alright, really fun section. Another clever use of background trickery to make objects that are larger than life. Really amazing for the era. Yeah, a lot of people look at stuff like this and they think, oh, this is a gimmick, but... I mean, I guess technically it is, but they kind of use that term in a derogatory way. But... if you saw this when it first came out, you would have been blown away by these effects. Like, no joke. Go from Castlevania on the NES and then see this, and it's like, whoa. It's a big reason why the 16-bit era was a very exciting time in gaming. There were significant advances over the previous generation, which we don't really see in the same kind of way anymore. It was definitely a special time to be a gamer. So you destroy his dog, and he weeps, and then he fades away. Now, we're not going to go to the bottom, but there is some wall meat. Oh, it's actually right here. But all these actually have different weapons. So there we go. Oh! Oh, that's not good. I'm an idiot. I don't even know why I picked up that holy water. Picked up holy water by accident, so this actually is going to be a little more challenging now because I wasn't paying attention. But it's okay. The axe could be okay. You know, it's got that arc. Goes into the air. So it can make life a little bit easier. But this is a little bit of a busy section. So this can be a little challenging if you're not using the boomerang. We got ourselves a doubler, which might come in handy here. Alright, what I like to do here is actually just jump onto the staircase. That was one addition to this series. It was introduced in Castlevania IV. It was brought back in other Castlevanias like Bloodlines. Woo! Okay. And Dracula X. So you can actually jump onto staircases in this, and you can jump off of them as well. Which is quite nice. Good use of the axe right there, that was good. That is kind of tricky, actually. Alright, let's see what we got here. Nothing. Still no boomerang. Which is gonna make... Man, sorry. I'm feeling really weird today. Like, I felt weird after breakfast. And I still feel weird right now. Doing all this talking and playing. I feel like coughing sometimes. It's probably just, I haven't been treating myself very well this week in terms of my diet and things like that. I think it's catching up with me. Caffeine overload's probably not helping either. Because of the heart issues I experienced back in July of this year, I've been trying to cut down on caffeine. But these last couple of weeks, I've picked back up in a really bad way. Just over-consuming it every day. So I think it's making my body feel weird. Especially after not really consuming a lot of caffeine for the last couple of months. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and just use my axes. I have almost 100 hearts here, so might as well mow through these guys a little bit faster. Alright, I don't know what's up here. Let's see. Tripler? I'll take it. Why not? Just about everything in this hallway is possessed. So, everything you see, just attack them from a distance. You gotta remember your whip is insanely long in this game. So, you know, if you can kill something from a distance, just do it. Just play it safe. No reason to get up close. Yeah, there's definitely more of those guys. There's not as many flying dancers, ghost dancers, as there... Well, not as many in the first loop, I meant to say. Right, a little bit of meat, and now we're gonna have to fight this boss without my boomerangs. This is gonna be interesting. Kind of a cool boss. It's also a series of ghost dancers, not a series, but a set of ghost dancers. And they can dive across the screen just like that. They can be a little difficult to see as well, because they fade in and out. Very cool looking boss, especially back in the day on a CRT. The Super Nintendo's transparency effects were put to really good use in this game. As we're going to see in an upcoming level. Those of you guys familiar with this game already know what I'm talking about. For those of you guys not familiar with it, which is probably all of one of you. You'll probably think it looks pretty cool. That's a fun, like, background animation on this level. Yeah, the books are basically dancing to the music. They're like... They're tapping to the music. Little details like that really can make the experience. You know, it could be a really major part of it. Because without that attention to detail, the world doesn't seem as lively. Alright, there's my boomerang, got it back, which is good. Make life a little bit easier. Just hold the whip right out in front of me. It's a perfectly viable strategy. Alright, I always do this. We're gonna see if I can just kind of drop straight through here. There we go. Let's just come on over here. Go ahead and skip those enemies on the left. So the red skeletons, just like in the other Castlevanias, they just constantly come back. There's no way to permanently destroy them, unfortunately. I want to say Castlevania 3 might be the only Castlevania where you can permanently destroy red skeletons. If anybody knows of another Castlevania where you can, let me know. I'm kind of drawing blanks right now. It's possible you might be able to in one of the more modern Castlevanias, but in these old ones, Castlevania 3, I believe, is the only one, because it has a freeze spell with Sypha. You can freeze them and then actually break them apart, and then they can't respawn. It's a really nice detail. These pictures of old ladies, they will grab you. They'll reach out of the photo, or picture, not a photo. They'll reach out of the picture and grab you, and you won't be able to move. So you do want to watch out for them. And those, like, hellhounds will actually knock the candles down, so you can't actually grab them or attack them. So this centipede type thing, sometimes what I can do is just hold my whip out and just do some damage here and there. A lot of times it'll just fly off the screen. I think there should be some meat here, so let's go back to this side. Watch out for these background objects. They do break apart. And there we go. Got some meat. Very good. Now, if you ever see a staircase going down off the screen, you have to take the staircase. You cannot just drop down. If you do, you will die. Again, Contra Syndrome. Now, this is an homage to the Grim Reaper level in the first Castlevania. It's pretty cool. I mean, again, this is a bit of a remake of the first Castlevania. A lot of similar themes and locations. Now, I will say, Akamajo 68,000, or, you know, Castlevania Chronicles, as it's known as in North America, it does have levels that are definitely more similar to what is actually in Castlevania 1. Good deal. Sweet. And I just love the level transitions in this game too. Like, this part just caught us off guard back in the day. it basically breaks apart and you fall down, much like in the first Castlevania. And you end up in a dungeon. For those that are new to this game, this is probably the first, I'd say, major difficulty spike in the game. A lot of tricks and traps. Lots of instant death scenarios. In the Japanese version of this game, I'd say it probably looks a little bit creepier because all the green acid is actually blood. I've actually said it before in my streams, I actually prefer the acid. I think it just looks more interesting. But it is definitely a cool feature in the Japanese version, it being just red. I'm not gonna lie. There are also some other interesting differences in the Japanese one, where... oh, this is not good. Oh yeah, you can crawl, by the way. Yeah, there are some other interesting differences where, for instance, the font on the heads-up display up top is actually different in the Japanese one. Another example of where I prefer the American version. Some other aspects have been censored. So in the first level, you've got some tombstones in the backdrop of the... when you're in the... when you're, like, on the farm, there are some, like, you know, gravestone crosses in the background normally. Those were cut out in the North American one. Also, the female statues in, you know, Dracula's hallway, they're actually nude, or at least topless, in the Japanese one. And they've been covered up in the North American version. There's a few other very minor differences, but for the most part, it's, you know, the game's pretty much the same. And whether you prefer blood or green here is just kind of a preferential thing. I think artistically speaking, I think the green just fits better. You can actually crawl through here, just drop straight down. Wow, that's a lot of Medusas. More than I remembered. Very sloppy, but I will take it. Now those red portions of the staircase, they will break apart. That's actually what hit me on the previous screen, as I broke one of them apart by accident. I try to avoid breaking them apart because they can definitely make your life more difficult. Those green acid drops will hurt you as well. So I don't think there are any more health drops here, so this is kind of a bad situation to be in right now. And we're dead. Yeah, very bad situation. That was completely my fault. I just took so much damage in the previous screen, which backfired. Now there is a health refill later on in this area, but unfortunately I was not able to make my way to it. It's okay, not a big deal. I actually know how to beat all these bosses without upgrades. I have done a leather whip only run of this game on the hard difficulty. It's a little bit of a chore, but it's an interesting challenge. I actually have a full playthrough of it on my YouTube channel here. For anybody curious. But doing that kind of challenge run really requires you to learn the boss fights inside and out. Pretty sure these things can kill me in one hit, so I obviously don't want to touch them. but I can still duck and attack. Wiggle my my whip around. Now this part can be a little aggravating because these platforms are random. They're totally random, and that can happen. Nice little damage boost. I use the invincibility frames to my advantage. Ooh, another boomerang. Okay. For some reason, I always thought that was a dagger. Or a throwing knife. Boomerang is the way to go. Alright, let's see if we can get it this time. A lot of people really complain about this section. It's just like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. You just live with it, you deal with it. If you fail, it's not the end of the world, just do it over again. So with Frankenstein's monster here, you can just whip upwards to destroy his concoctions. Depending on the color of the bottle that he throws, that will determine what its effect is. Like, is it gonna cause flames to, you know, appear on the ground, or is it gonna break in the air and cause multiple projectiles to fly out? All depends on the color. But yeah, this is the level I was talking about. The level that uses, you know, makes really good use of the console's transparency capabilities. Now, these might not actually be transparent, technically, like, they're separate layers, but it could just be using some sort of color shifting routine. But the whole point is the effect looks transparent. It looks like a transparent effect, and that's what matters. Doesn't matter how it's done, as long as the effect works. Whoops. Already kind of low on health. Not a good start. Now, there's actually a fun little secret. You can bounce off those money chests over and over and over again. It's a lot. And at certain points, you will make wall meat appear. This block has always eluded me. It's just there. Doesn't do anything. But it makes the environment unique, and in a way, almost believable. Alright, let's try to... well, we'll just do this the slow way. And actually, I have an idea. Who's the smart one now? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That's what I get for bad-mouthing the game. But there is some meat up there I really wanted. Oh well. Yeah, I just love how you can get creative about how you use your sub-weapons. So in that other situation, I shot my boomerangs to the left, knowing that they'll bounce back. And I had a feeling that was gonna happen. That skeleton is a lot harder to deal with now because, you know, they take more hits now on this second loop. And also, these are the checkpoints I was talking about. They're kind of nasty. It's not just relegated to this level. Like, the checkpoints in general can be kind of bad, in a way. And I can see these checkpoints annoying a lot of people. Let's go ahead and just get rid of that, make my life a little bit easier here. It's nice being able to really, really move and jump and stuff like that. Alright, let's try this again. Although this time I don't have the boomerang. Which might make my life a little more difficult. I should have the axe, though. Now, unfortunately, I probably will not be able to attack this skeleton. Oh. Well, I was gonna say no, but maybe. Nice. Good positioning. And it failed again. That is so weird. I think what's happening is when your whip overlays with a ring and a candle, I think the candle takes priority, and then you end up not latching onto the ring. Nice. Okay, that was good. Very risky because of that bat. And yeah, I think I just confirmed my theory there because a bat was overlaid on a candle and it prioritized the candle, not the bat. So, interesting how that works out. The NES Castlevanias don't have that problem. Alright, moving along. So if you come up top here, there's another secret area. Just like this, and you can get some health back. I can probably get a shot doubler here as well, so I will probably try to do that. Oh, no, don't do that. Ah, crap. I grabbed another dagger. Alright, there's my boomerang. Oh, no shot doubler. You just exit out any of these holes. Doesn't really matter. It looks like these don't chase you until you're not facing them anymore. Kind of a fun detail. Alright, this is gonna be tricky. I probably should have went to, went up the left-hand side. But as long as I've got, a long-range projectile, it takes time to kill that bone dragon, but it's still not the worst thing ever. There are definitely parts in this game where you want to just take your time. Do not rush through. I mean, that's pretty much any Castlevania. You are rewarded in a lot of cases for being patient. Like, if you have that long-range projectile, just sit on the other side of the screen and use it. That's what they are there for. Same with here. Got my boomerang. Just go ahead and use my boomerang. Same with right here. Look at that. We're actually right next to the boss fight, too. Pretty cool boss fight. It actually breaks out into multiple pieces. Now, you don't want to get hit by the gold pieces that actually fly out of him when you attack him. And I actually did that poorly. For this boss, you really want to try to get to one side of the screen because he does this dive attack, and he goes to wherever you were on the screen, or wherever you are. So if you're directly beneath him, you're pretty much going to take damage guaranteed. Alright, so now the pattern actually reverses. He actually shoots projectiles now. I think you actually still get hurt by his, the little, you know, specks that come off. There we go. And we're moving on to the last few levels in the game. So we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. And because I've already died a bunch of times, we've already been playing for almost an hour now. And I just love how they integrated a lot of old Castlevania tunes into this. It's just so good. Never gets old. Speaking of which, Bloody Tears. When this game first came out, we were all blown away by this rendition of the tune, which was originally created for Castlevania II. I'm gonna go ahead and just use my projectiles from a distance, make my life easier. You gotta worry about these cogs. There's gonna be a ring right here. Okay, just swing back and forth. Hopefully one of those guys doesn't jump down. Alright, good stuff. Yeah, lots of slowdown right here. So much animation in this level. I think that's what's causing a lot of the slowdown. You know, you got the vertical cogwheels, you got the horizontal cogwheels, then you got the chains. They're all animating at the same time, which is more than most levels animate. And then you've got all the actual enemies and characters also doing their thing, eating up resources. You've got physics models and all that stuff. Whoops. All that stuff has to function at the same time, and I'm pretty sure there have been no slowdown patches for this game, so it's not like the Super Nintendo simply wasn't capable of doing this, but you always got to remember that, you know, developers have a finite amount of time to create games. Because publishers, a lot of times, you know, they want their games out by a certain date. Take advantage of a holiday season or something like that, or a system launch. So you end up, you know, some of these companies end up putting out products that are not perfect. Like Castlevania IV being an amazing game, but still having lots of slowdown, which is a flaw. You know, it's an objective flaw. It's not even really subjective, because it's... You see it, you feel it. Now, whether you can live with it or not is another story. That's the subjective part. I can live with it, mostly. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, stupid Medusas. Ah. That was just bad, 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 bad. I let go of the ring. I was gonna drop onto that platform, and then ended up that ended up backfiring on me like crazy. These Medusas are a little bit of a handful right now. There was 4 of them on screen. It's definitely way harder than they were in the original Castlevania or Castlevania 3. So the strategy here is to just land on the staircase, or you can land right in front of that skeleton. You can actually duck his sword attack. Gotta watch out for these big cogs. You can see them just off the edge of the screen in your heads-up display area. Ooh, gotta be careful on this part. You can actually latch onto one of those rings, and it actually puts you below the platform you're standing on. And you can actually end up falling through the platform by accident. So you gotta be very careful about that. Oh, I grabbed holy water. Did not want that. That's okay, not a big deal. The boss of this level is pretty easy, in my opinion. Okay, good. That was much better. Alright, last stretch. Ooh, nice. I always forget that that screen clearing item is there. It's actually very handy. It makes this part a lot easier. Otherwise, you have to try to kill the bone dragon from the other side of the screen with moving rings that get in your way that you can accidentally snap onto. You know, the holy water might actually be really good for this boss fight. Let's see. Fortunately, it makes it easy to get hit by his projectiles. I never use holy water in this boss fight, so this is kind of interesting. Does decent damage. It actually would have been a lot better if I had a tripler. I bet it would have been really good if I had a tripler. Or even a doubler. Alright, this is basically our last level. And what I like to do, kind of like an earlier vertical section, is I literally just skip everything. It's a little tricky, because you have to latch onto those staircases. And if you don't, you end up falling through them and you die. But it's a way of getting through that section a lot faster, without having to deal with those pirate ship enemies from Castlevania III. One nice addition in this game, too, is that some staircases you can just hold left or right. So in previous Castlevanias, you always had to hold up or down, depending whether you're going up or down a staircase. And if you didn't, you would actually fall off the platform. But in this game, a lot of the staircases you can just hold left or right. And there's no risk of falling off a platform. Now this level is a little bit different. These are falling staircases. You do always have to hold up or down on them, depending on which way you're going. Generally, you're always going up on this level, so you just hold up. Now there is that spiked wheel that starts off the bottom of the level, and what happens with it is it basically chases you up this stage. It's kind of a scary level, because if it touches you, you die instantly. And the stair grabbing mechanics, like latching on to stairs in this game, can be a little fickle. I don't think it works quite as well as in... What the hell? Where were my platforms? It doesn't work quite as well as in something like Castlevania Bloodlines. Works really well in Bloodlines, actually. Yeah, it's definitely a little more fickle here. Yeah, so those floating platforms, there were supposed to be more of them. So I don't know if I got glitched out or if there's just some randomness to it that causes them to just not be there when I need them. I don't know. Right, just rinse and repeat. Oh, this isn't good. Okay. Whew. That was a little scary. Alright, much better. Now the really hard part's coming up here, or at least the part where it's harder to make it through. I will say that. I just love being able to attack diagonally in this game. It gives you so much combat flexibility, especially when you're on staircases like this. You can walk up staircases backwards and then attack in the opposite direction. It's very handy. And it's been a little while since I've done the second loop, because I don't remember a lot of these enemies up here. It's pretty cool. Alright, let's try to push the screen up a little bit. Okay. Okay, it looks like they're not going to appear until I'm higher up on the staircase. Alright, just walk off. Let's go ahead and grab that. Good deal. Not too bad. It's kind of some mean level design, and if you fail, you have to go all the way back down to the bottom. And if you get a game over, you gotta go all the way back to the beginning of this level. Alright, so for this guy, he's got two phases. First phase, I like to just duck and attack, and always duck when he drops back. Okay, that's a very rare attack. But you basically duck and attack. Sometimes he will land and have his spear out automatically, and so you want to be ducking to avoid that. Man, twice in one fight. Maybe the likelihood of him doing that attack is actually greater on the second loop. I would not be surprised. But yeah, for a lot of people, this is probably the hardest boss in the game. This or the Grim Reaper. And Slogger here, no pun intended, could be a little bit of a slog to get past. He's got massive hitboxes, his attacks are very erratic. One more hit and I think I'm dead. Oh, that was a close fight. Wouldn't have been as close if he didn't do his dash across the screen, which again, is a very rare move. Yeah, the axe will probably come in handy on this fight and Death, or the Grim Reaper, who's coming up. Fans of Symphony of the Night will recognize both that boss and Slogger, the previous boss. Alright, on to Death himself. Wow, he didn't do his spinning attack. Very interesting. So what happens with Death is he goes off to the side of the screen and kind of like spins his scythe around, and it causes this like gravitational pull. It's a really cool effect. But he didn't do that pattern once. So very interesting. We are going to take advantage of the awesome secret, which is going to give us a triple boomerang. There's a staircase right here, and you want to inch over just slightly, just enough to where you can make that jump. There is a hole there, and you can fall to your death. Great secret. A lot of people kind of struggle with the last bosses in Castlevania games, and so that's it's a great crutch. I'm glad it's there. And we just kind of jump over his projectile and attack it. Or fail to. That's fine too. Both strategies work. Whoops. I actually didn't expect this second phase to kick in so quickly. So basically he makes these fire faces appear. Now the big thing you have to watch out for, aside from the faces themselves, is the fire that appears on the ground. That does actually hurt you. Man, so many cool graphical effects here. I love he goes pixelated every time you hit him. You know, it's one of those like built-in Super Nintendo graphical features that a lot of early games used, but not many later games used it, and I was kind of bummed about that. It's a really cool effect. Oops, took a hit. It's okay. So that said, this is one of the easier Dracula fights in the whole series, even on the second loop. But it's still a fun Dracula fight, because it has 3 distinct phases. And also there is a projectile he shoots out that you can attack, and it will give you meat. And there we go, Super Castlevania IV Hard Mode. That was definitely a challenge at certain points, not gonna lie. Especially since I haven't done it in a while, so I was definitely rusty. But I have done a hard mode whip only playthrough, like leather whip only. I have a full Let's Play of that from years back. Feel free to check that out. It's an interesting challenge. I'm not gonna say I'd recommend it to anybody, but or everybody, but it is interesting for sure. Oh man, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this playthrough. I enjoyed going back to it. Definitely stay tuned for more Castlevania content this October. I'm probably going to end up doing Castlevania Bloodlines next, and I might attempt, still not guaranteed yet, but I might attempt Castlevania Chronicles, which I have not finished in many, many years now, so... But we'll see what we can do with that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see in general. How many times can I say we'll see? Yeah, great ending theme too. The soundtrack in this game overall is just like it's one of the best from this generation in my opinion. Like it's just phenomenal. Maybe not quite as good as some of those banging RPG soundtracks like Final Fantasy VI, but it's still top tier. Top tier Super Nintendo goodness. Yeah, that cross there makes everything disappear. Which actually really saved me on the clock tower level on one of the sections, one of the last vertical sections. There's a bone dragon you have to hit from the other side of the screen. But that cross allowed me to just kill it instantly, which made that part a lot easier. You got the ghost dancers again.
trying to figure out what those little statues are in the background that's scrolling to the left. I was thinking about that during that boss fight earlier, and I can't really tell what they are. And those guys were from Castlevania 3 as well. A lot of Castlevania 3 enemies in this game. And there's our dungeon level. Again, a few ways you can get through these parts. You can ride this swinging thing, or you can go underneath it. Same with the I'll call them chompers. Those spikes that were basically like falling to the ground and then rising back up. You can actually go underneath them, or you can ride them on top. I recommend the top route. It's the easiest for me anyway. It's the most consistent. Also, this is going to show off a fun thing. You can actually use your sub-weapons on the rings. Something probably a lot of people don't know about. So you could, if you had the boomerang, you could actually throw it across the screen, which would whack that skeleton before you land on the platform. A lot of different ways to deal with situations in this game, which is great. You know, when there's only one way, it gets old. It gets repetitive. You end up memorizing the game, and then that's it. Every playthrough is the same, but in this game, not every playthrough is the same, because there's different ways to tackle a lot of situations in this game. Boss fights included. Getting close to being done with the ending. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the continued support. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this year's October content on my channel here. It's the month I usually go all out with lots of content, lots of playthroughs, lots of live streams. So hopefully you're having an enjoyable October when it comes to my channel. But that's it. That is Super Castlevania IV, guys. Thanks for watching. There should be another quick play posted next week, so watch out for that. Anybody new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. I've got a lot of videos like this, and many, many more to come. For everyone already saw it, thanks as always for your continued support. I really appreciate it. And until the next one, take it easy.